Well, welcome back to another video from the Clark and Addison Gaming Company. My name is Brian Hafferkamp. I'm the designer and creator here at Clark and Addison. And in this video, I'm going to show you a new little mini game that I rolled out a couple days ago. And this is something that you can use for the March Madness tournament coming up. It is for NCAA college basketball. And what it is just a score generator type of game just to have some fun. You can either play out an entire season, or you can go ahead and play the upcoming tournament either as it goes along, or you can replay it afterwards. You'll need 2d6 dice, and these are just the components that you'll need. This is a game results chart. This is basically how you play the game. There will be a setup for each team, and then that's how you play the games. I've included this bracket here that I just downloaded from USA Today. You can get a bracket from almost anywhere. You can make your own, whatever you want to do. But this one is just sort of pre-filled with all the, at least the first round matchups and the first four matchups, which happened yesterday. So, or at least part of them happened. And then the last part you need is the data. So you can see here, this is every Division I team, and it has all of their data. And we're going to use the strength of schedule number. We don't need the totals, but you can see their total points, but we're going to need their points per game, both their points scored per game and their points given up per game. So those are the numbers that we're going to need in order to play the game. So let's go through a couple of samples. Let's just do the first four games down here. So I want to say it's American Mount St. Mary's, but I'm not sure. Let's go with the beer, because I know I can see the teams here. Let's just cherry pick a few teams. And what you'll need is, if you're going to do this by hand, you're going to need just a piece of scratch paper. So keep that here. Clean everything off a little. So first we're going to have, let's play Louisville at Creighton. So we have our two teams. We need to find their numbers. So Louisville is an L, and we got them right here. So 79 and 69 are their points for and against. So we just write down 79, 69. And then their strength of schedule, we're going to round up. It's 9.61. We'll round that up to 10. So we'll put that there. And for Creighton, they're here. Creighton is 75, 70, and 11. So right now you can do a little bit of evaluation with these teams. So Louisville, a little bit better offense on the whole. They're about the same on defense, and they have about the same strength of schedule. So this is an 8-9 game between these two. And they're pretty even. Let me go get another phone, and I can do these calculations on the screen. All right, so the formula that we have here, it's going to be points for, we'll put this, plus opponent, points against, and then we're going to divide that by 2. So we're going to get the average of that, and then we're going to add our strength of schedule. So that's going to be our formula that we're going to use for each of our games, and this will get us what we call our game score. And so if we do this one first, so we're looking at 79, and sorry if they'll get a shadow here, 79 plus points against, 70 for the opponent, and then we're going to average that. So that's going to be what, 75 or 6. So we just do 79 plus 70. Or yeah, we'll divide that by 2. So we round up to 75, and then we say plus 10. So that's going to give us a game score of 85 for Louisville. And we do the same, so 75 plus 69. And then we add 11. So they should be about the same, so 83. Because Creighton scores a few less points per game, so their game score is a little bit less. So as it is right now, we're basically starting with a game score of 85 to 83. So you can see that the 8th seed has a little bit of an advantage over the 9. Now what we need to do is we have one more sheet of paper here. We need to actually play the game. So you can see our game results chart. And once both teams have the initial game score, you play by rolling 2d6 dice, which we have here. And then you reference the game chart below. So these are your dice rolls, and these are the adjustments that you need to make for the game. And the adjustment either adds or subtracts from the expected game score based on the performance of the team. So you can see over here, there's a cause as to why the team, their sort of average score is adjusted down or up. And it's the opponent's defense came to play, bottled up the best scorer. So they subtract 5 from their game score. So normally their expected game score would be the ones that we showed here. We would expect 85, 83, but if this was a -5, the 85 would become 80. So there was a reason that they didn't perform quite as well. And it's just for narrative purposes. It has nothing to do with the actual final score of the game. So it attempts to provide some reason. And it's always good to have a narrative, right? And a reason why things happen. So first we're going to roll for Louisville. And whatever we roll, we're going to add to their sort of initial or expected game score. So we roll our dice. We have a 5. A 5 means a -2. So there was a star player who was a little bit off in the first half, so they didn't perform quite to expectations. So their final score is 83. Now you can see here, if they just roll a 0 or a 7, and the team just plays up to expectations, we're going to have a tie ball game. So we'll see what happens with Creighton. Okay, they also rolled a 5. So that's also a -2. So basically they're keeping pace with one another. And they didn't quite play up to expectations either. So 83, 81. And then I'm also throwing in, and it's not in the rules yet, but I'm throwing in what I'm calling the Cinderella roll. So what the Cinderella roll is the team that is the lower seed gets one more D6 roll to add to their score. This kind of helps, especially on a seed. I'll play a seed that's a lot between each other. For the lower seeded team, they have an opportunity to make to score 11 points, like to go 11 over their final score, while the other team goes 5 under. So whatever that is, that's like a 16-point swing. So it's an opportunity even for a lower seed to be able to upset. So it's kind of like a havoc roll kind of thing. So we don't need that. So we're going to roll one more D6. We'll add it here. So if it's a 1 or a 2, we're going to have a tie ball game, or Creighton's going to lose. If it's greater than 2, then Creighton has the upset. Oh, it's a 4. And so with the Cinderella roll, you can see Creighton wins 85-83. It's a minor upset, right? With an 8 and a 9. So let's do another game. Let's do Florida. So 1 versus 16. You can see that. So Florida against Norfolk State. Florida is 85, 69, and 12. And they are definitely one of the better teams in the entire tournament. Norfolk State is 77, 69. and they're a -8 on their strength of schedule. So the reason I did the strength of schedule is because, let's say Norfolk State also scores 85 points per game. When Norfolk State scores 85 points per game, that's not the same as when Florida does it in the SEC. So they're playing two different levels of competition very clearly. So I want to be able to reflect that with the strength of schedule, either deduction or addition. Just because when I was doing it the first time without that, it was like there were a lot of teams that were very similar in their points per game profile, but when you thought about what they weren't very similar. There's no way that they're very similar teams. So you needed some way to sort of differentiate them, and the way that we do that in college sports is with the strength of schedule, and in fact use it in professional sports as well. All right, so I'm going to keep the game results chart off of the screen, and we'll just sort of look at everything here. So we have 85 plus 69 divided by 2 plus 12. So they have an expected game score of 89, does Florida, and 77 plus 69 plus a -8. So the expected game score is about what we would expect anyway in this game, 89 to 65. That's a 24-point win if everything just sort of stays as it is, right? So let's go ahead and roll it out and see how Florida actually performs. Very well. 10 is going to be a +3. So they get major offensive contributions from the team's second scorer, and they wind up with a game score of 92. For Norfolk State, they perform very poorly, so that's a -5, and they bottled up the Norfolk State's best scorer, so they go down to a 60. Now you can do the Cinderella roll and it's not going to make much difference, so they wind up at 61. So our game score 92 to 61. Now you can think about that as points. That may actually turn out to be 92 to 61, but because we're using this modifier here, it's not straight up points. If we were just doing this calculation and then adding that Cinderella roll, which you're free to do, just realize that if you do that and you don't add the strength of schedule, you're gonna have teams kind of out of whack a little bit. But you can do that, and then you can think about it as points. So that was originally how I did it, and then I started noticing there were points per game were not equal, right? Even though they were the same, they didn't have equal competition. So I wanted to put that in there for a little bit of realism. If you don't care about that, you can just do the easy calculation, this first calculation, without the strength of schedule, and then realistically you're looking at points per game. You could still consider it that, but a lot of these scores are going to be in the 90s or the 80s, and I don't think during the tournament it's going to necessarily come out like that. Everything is going to probably trend down 10 or 15%, just because that's lower scoring and higher stakes. So you can see 92-61. That's Florida over Norfolk State. Let's do one that has a chance. Let's say like Arizona and Akron. Akron is a 13 seed, so chance for an upset here. In fact, it's gotten pretty close to an upset, I think, on other ones that I've done. But Arizona is a strong 4 seed, so 82 for, 72 against, and a 14 for their strength of schedule. So Arizona playing out west, and Akron is 85, 75, and -5. So this is one of those that you can see Akron scores 85 points per game, but clearly where Akron plays is not the same as, I don't know, what are they, Missouri Valley or Mid-America or something like that. So where they play is very different than playing out West in the Pac-10 or whatever the Pacific, whatever it is now, Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac whatever. So playing out West in a major conference gives them a plus 14 strength of schedule. Even though they scored more points per game, Akron gets a -5 on that. So whenever we do our, sorry, I'm using my daughter's phone. The fairy is there. 82 plus 75 divided by 2 plus 14 gives them a game score, a very strong game score of 93. And 85 plus 72 plus a -5 gives them a 74. So this is what we could expect. We could expect a 19-point win from Arizona in this matchup. So let's go ahead and play it out for real, and we'll see if Arizona shows up to play. Okay, so now we have a chance for an upset, right? So when you roll low, the lower you roll, the more you are going to adjust the points down. So this is how you build up an upset, is if the higher seeded team rolls really low, the lower seeded team, if they roll really high, and then they have the Cinderella roll, all of a sudden you have the makings of an upset. And it still may be that they can't cover the distance between these. It just depends on how closely linked the two teams are. So -5 puts them at 88. So 88 is their game score, and we have a 9, so they play better than expected. The team makes more shots from the outside than they normally do, so that's going to be a +2, so 76. So right now you can see that there's still a 12-point difference between the two. If they had gotten the +5, there would have been a 7-point difference between them. So these two were too far apart from each other for the Cinderella roll to happen, but with a 6, it can make it really close. It's a 4, and you can see they pushed them to the edge, and the final game score on this would be 88-80. So Akron puts up a good fight and gets an opportunity, and maybe Arizona pulls away late in this one. Let's do one more. Let's do somewhere where I've had an upset before. So let's say, like a 10-7 game. So we have Marquette and we have New Mexico. So these two teams, this will be the last one that we do. So I believe Marquette has won this every time I've ever replayed it. But we've got 77, 69, and 11 for strength of schedule, and for New Mexico, '81, 71, and 6. So relatively evenly matched. Definitely going to be within striking distance with the Cinderella roll. So we need to do 77, and their game score is going to be 85. And for New Mexico, it's 81 plus 69 plus 6. So 85, 81. That's a pretty evenly matched game. You can see that 4 points is the spread between the two, and that's going to give us an opportunity here for the Cinderella roll to take effect. Let's see how the teams play. So for Marquette, pretty good game. They played a little bit better than expected. The opponent couldn't contain the team's best scorer down the stretch, so they score 86. And for New Mexico, they need a big roll. They get it. That's going to be a +2. They make more outside shots than normal. And you can see that the initial gap was 4, but they closed the gap with 2-3. So now they need a roll of 3 to tie. They need a 4 or better to win. And we got the Cinderella roll, a chance for a 10 to knock out a 7. Not a huge upset, but an opportunity. And so let's see. And New Mexico, strong down the stretch. They take out number 7 Marquette with the Cinderella roll. You could totally leave that out. Mostly what you're going to wind up with is very few any upsets or anything like that. There are going to be some, but it's not going to be very many. With the Cinderella roll, you're going to cause a little bit more havoc in the bracket. It's gamified, obviously, but it's just sort of simulating that unknown that a lower seed just kind of gets into a rhythm or gets into a place where it could be either the higher seed choking or the lower seed just playing out of their minds. But you can see how if you keep it close, especially in these 10-7, 12-5, 11-6 type of games, you have an opportunity really for an upset. When you're talking about a 1-16, the distance between those two teams generally is going to be too great for them to overcome. But that, I think, has only happened once in the history of the tournament, so it's not like it's really unheard of. But you could go through, and as you get your winners, you just fill them in, and you move the teams on to the next round and play through a bracket. And that bracket is printable, so you could do that several times. You can see that you can move through a game very quickly. There's also an Excel helper that I put into the game, and in one tab you have all of the team data, so it's just in a tab in the Excel spreadsheet. In the other tab you have basically this formula, and all you'll need to do is type in the name of the two teams. It'll go out and get the data, it'll bring it back in, it'll do all these calculations for you, and basically where it will get you is to the expected score. So this initial score, then you'll need to just simply roll against the game results chart and add that whatever that adjustment is. Don't add the roll, add the adjustment, and then that'll give you your final game score. So if you want to add in that Cinderella roll, you can do that as well. I don't have a place on the spreadsheet for that, but you could simply just roll a die or do it on your phone and get an additional D6, and then you come out with your final score. The Cinderella roll is really just if you're doing a tournament. So if you wanted to do a conference tournament, or you wanted to do the Division I tournament, you could do that. If you were playing out, because you could definitely play out an entire season if you had all the teams, which we do. So you can see, Hofstra, Holy Cross, Idaho, Incarnate Word. Every Division I team is listed here. I think it's 365 or so. And so you can go through and you can play out the Ivy League conference if you wanted to, or if you have a favorite team or you have your alma mater, you can play out that team's entire season, game by game, if you want to do that. And you would just simply get rid of the Cinderella roll, because there's no seeding in just conference play. But everything else is the same. You just won't have that final roll. And yeah, so this is a quick play game. Hopefully it provides pretty accurate results. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. I've posted my bracket. In my bracket, Auburn beat Houston in the final. I had all number ones. Every number one made it through. Every Elite 8 was a number 1 versus a number 2, but I played without the Cinderella roll. So maybe I'll just do a bracket with the Cinderella roll and see if there are a few more upsets. The upset that was most notable was the University of North Carolina, and UNC went from the first 4 all the way to the Sweet 16. So they beat Ole Miss in the initial round. And in the second round, they beat Iowa State, who was a favorite. So they beat 11 over a 3. And that was without the Cinderella roll. They just beat them straight up. And then they got beat by 3 or 4 points by Michigan State, who was a number 2 seed, who went on to play against Auburn and was beaten by Auburn. But very fun, very entertaining game. You could probably knock out a bracket. If you have the Excel helper, you can knock out a bracket in like a half hour, maybe. I mean, an hour at most. And so it might be a nice like one night little thing. The game is extensible, so if you have those pieces of data, you can replay any Final Four in the history of basketball. When I was looking back, it's easy to get the data all the way back to about 92, 93, the 92-93 season. If you go before that, you'll have to like do a little digging around and just go conference by conference and get the data from the schools that way by conference. But about 92-93, they started on Basketball Reference. They started putting all the school stats into one table. So that makes it significantly easier. But that's a lot of years. It's 30 years worth of NCAA tournaments that would be super easy to get and to just have or print out or whatever. So if there's some interest here, I would love to extend this, and I can provide more seasons, or if there are particular, I can provide blank brackets and stuff like that. I even have I have a regional bracket where you could print out 4 different regions. If you wanted to do a super hypothetical, they're just blank. And then I also have just a fully blank, just like this one, but it's just fully blank all over. And then you could write in your own stuff. You could do the women's tournament as well. Any sort of tournament, any sort of game, you could do with it, including the NBA. If you had the points per game and you have the strength of schedule. So as long as those numbers are present, and really technically you could do it without, if you were playing the NBA or something like that, or the WNBA, or any sort of international league, you might not necessarily need strength of schedule numbers. It would be helpful to create some realism, but because those teams are all sort of evenly matched, when a team in the NBA scores 78 points per game, they actually are like another team that scores 78 points per game. So they're all playing in the same league. So you don't necessarily need that for that matchup. But if you wanted to give the lower, the team with the lower winning percentage, sort of the havoc role or the Cinderella role, you could do that. All right. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comments section. You can pick up this game at the Clark and Addison Gaming Facebook page. It's in the files section. So if you're a member there, you can go and download that today. I just updated it with the helper. So that Excel helper is also in the download. If you are not on Facebook or you're not a part of that group and don't wish to be a part of the group, you can just email me at clarkandaddisongaming@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send the files to you, and you can play this out. Otherwise, be looking for this. Maybe. I don't know. It'll probably be part of the gold membership that's going to come up, and you'll just be able to play, and I'll just release more seasons or whatever. Really, it's just the team data that you need. So the formulas and the game results chart are not going to change, but it's more about the getting the team data more than anything. All right. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, just click on subscribe. There's always video content coming. I go through periods where I have more time and less time, and so this is just kind of a less time period. But I'm always doing something. I'm replaying the 2003 opening day of the MLB season using Precision Baseball, which you can get 2023, 2024, and 2003. Those seasons are available right now at clarkandaddisongaming.com. You can go there, and if you just do a web search for Precision Baseball, you can get to the page where it tells you a little bit more about the game. And it's a highly detailed baseball game. Super fun, more along the lines of Dynasty League pursue the pennant, whatever you want to call it. And ballpark baseball, which Bill James was a game that Bill James helped to create and would play with his friends all the time. So very sabermetrically driven, very detailed, and lots of different components to that game. But you do move pretty quickly through probably 40 to 60% of the at-bats move pretty quickly. They're just sort of, figuring out a strikeout or a walk or a hit by pitch, that kind of thing. And then when runners get on base, it slows down just a little bit. But lots of decisions and things to be made, decisions to be made in the game, which makes it much more interesting. I'm playing a game, so these are the cards for the 2003 Cleveland Indians. So you can see a lot of information on the cards themselves. And so you're playing off the cards, but it's got quite a few charts as well. All right. Go to clarkandaddisongaming.com. Check out everything that's there. Lots of baseball games, so baseball's coming up. Lots of... we have basketball action. I'm working on a fast play basketball game. Not a fast play, but a kind of a faster playing basketball game, but it's a full play game called AIG Basketball. And there's another one called Top of the Key Basketball, which is a little bit different, a little longer, and a little bit more decision making that you can play in there, but it's a dice-based basketball game. And also Up-Tempo Basketball, which is my sort of original corner cutting, fast play, fast medium play basketball game. It's every play, every shot, but it's done in a way that's a little bit quicker to get through things. So you can check those out as well. And I have Play Action Football, which is a football game, full play football game that I've created that plays in like an hour to an hour and a half. So plays a little bit faster. All right. Any questions or comments, again, just leave them down in the comments section. I appreciate everybody's support. And if you have any suggestions for me about content or games that you want to see me play more on the channel, just let me know. And I think that's it from here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.